Shalawam, and welcome back to The Hidden Chosen. I am Hadassah Saiwan, and welcome back to Prophetic Dreams and Visions. We're now looking at part 2 of this study called Night Visions for the Dreamers. So, we look at dreams with symbolisms in part 1. Now, we're going to take a look at night visions, which are visions that you receive while you're sleeping. All right? We will move on to the second type of dreams we receive from Alahayam called night visions. This type of dream is prophetic and highly interactive on our part. Either we are watching as events take place in the dream, or we are fully engaged in activities in the dream. And it can also be a combination of both watching and then interacting. So sometimes it looks as if you are watching events unfold, you're outside of the events, but you're still there. And then there are times when you are interacting in the events that are taking place, and then sometimes it's a combination of both. Now, all these things that I am explaining to you are things that I have experienced throughout my life. Okay, so I'm not just speaking from other people's experiences, I'm speaking also from my experiences. And then when I'm looking at the word of Alahayam, now I can see the correlation between what I've experienced and what my forefathers have experienced. All right. And then you now can see the correlation between what you have experienced and these studies that I've put together. Okay. So to help you to understand exactly what it is that you have encountered, what kind of a dream, whether it's a nighttime vision or a dream of symbolism or daytime open eye vision or a trance, or you could also have a vision while you are taking a nap. You're sleeping during the daytime. You decided to take a nap and you also encounter or receive rather a vision, even though it's not nighttime and it's not an open eye vision. So we still kind of put that under the same category as nighttime vision or night visions, okay? Because that has happened to me as well. So let's read on. You'll be able to tell if you had a night vision or not by the dream itself. So the dream itself, the what you have received will allow you to know whether it is a dream of symbolisms or an interactive dream, which will be the night vision. You just have to look at the context of that dream. Okay? Although there will be some symbolisms, there will also be major parts of the dream that will be understandable. That's another thing about visions, whether in the nighttime or in the daytime. They are usually very understandable. Yes, you may have small parts that are not as understandable, that you have to wait for Roach HaQadash to give you the understanding, but the general gist of the dream, the very general gist of the vision will be understandable because you are communicating and you're also asking questions. Okay? You're asking questions while you are in this state. And that's why when you wake up, you understand somewhat of what you have just experienced. In night visions, there are in some cases interactions with angels, Roach HaQadash, and even Alahayam. Oh yeah. Even the Most High can interact with us even today. Alahayam will reveal himself to us in a manner that is not damaging to our person, but the angels can often reveal themselves in the fullness of who they are. However, they can also veil themselves in order to carry out their part in our night vision without any hindrance. So the angels, even though they are awesome to behold, they too can veil themselves or they can choose not to. But seeing them will not be the same as encountering the Most High. Although, in the visions that I have had with Roach HaQadash, seeing Roach HaQadash and Alahayam, they were veiled, meaning they presented themselves not in their glorious bodies, in their glorious state, but they presented themselves in a way in which I knew who they were, and but yet I did not see them the way in which Danayal saw the Ancient of Days, Yahazakaal saw again the Ancient of Days, as well as Yashaoya. All right? Yashaoya chapter 6, verse 1, when he saw Yahweh high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. All right? Now, I have not seen those kinds of dreams, but I have seen some things. Okay? And I knew from even inside the dream, while I was there in the vision, I knew who I was speaking to. I knew who they were. Okay? That's the difference between dreams. Now, when you have a dream, it's all these different symbolisms. Okay. Parts of a puzzle, and you need to put them together. Okay. Our forefathers experienced night visions, as this was the chosen way in which Alahayam communicated with them. As we have Roach HaQadash with us, he communicates to us directly in our hearts. Unless there's something pressingly significant that he wants to reveal to us, then he will communicate with us using night visions. When we look at examples of night visions in the Bible, we will see that they are extremely powerful and meaningful. Sometimes they appear as prophetic warnings to the dreamers, pointing to future end times events to take place in this world, and other times they were given as personal warnings to the dreamers. Now, I remember when I had my first night vision, it was actually a time when I was taking a nap in the afternoon. And what I experienced was, and I'm not going to get into the actual vision, but the story, the message rather, behind that vision, it was so profound. It shook me to the core. All right? But the message I received, it was right there in the vision. And the message was this: the word that I will teach you, do not break down word after word after word after word. No. What he showed me in the vision, he said, I want you to see the big picture. When you see the big picture, then I will give you the pieces of the puzzle to that picture, so that you already understand what the significance of the scripture, the word that I'm giving to you, you're now putting the pieces of it together. What people do, they do the opposite. They go to the word of Alahayam and they break down every single word. which is not the correct way in which to study the word of Alahayam. You have to understand what the message is first. And when you understand what the message is, then you will stay within context of the scriptures. And you'll find all the connecting scriptures as well, all the different pieces that will help to give understanding to the message. And this was my very first night vision, which happened during the daytime while I was taking a nap. When he showed this to me, he showed me a few other things too. All right. But I held that in my heart so that now, actually, from that point, it was the first, this occurred the first year when I decided to give my heart to him. But back in those days, it was in a church. I became what you would call a Christian. But that was his stepping stone for me to get to this place where I am today. And because of that experience, it has laid the foundation for me to study the word of Alahayam. Because it is a vision that I could never forget. He said, don't do like all what the others are doing. He said, follow my lead. Look at the big picture. Look and actually listen to what I am saying to you. And then you go into the word and draw from the word the messages that I want you to put together to create your message. All right? To create the message that I want you to give to his people. All right? And that was more than 25 years ago. And I still remember that night, well, I call it night vision, but that vision while I was sleeping. Okay? I can't forget it. It was so profound. I was the first experience of that, something of that kind for me. Although before I became a believer, and I will talk about this when I do the next study called it's about having prophetic visions. That was actually an open-eyed vision, which is quite different from a vision that you receive while you're sleeping. Okay? Two different. They're giving you the messages that he wants you to receive, but the way in which he communicates to us are two different ways. One while you're awake, the other one while you're sleeping. Because when you are awake, you are even more aware that you're in a vision. Believe it or not. I mean, we're used to sleeping and having dreams from the time we were babies. All right? But now your eyes are open and these phenomenal things are happening right in front of your face, right before your eyes. Okay, let's read on. When we look at examples of night visions in the Bible, we will see that they are extremely powerful and meaningful. I read that already. So let's move on to the scripture, Barashayah chapter 20, verse 2. And Abraham said of Sarah his wife, she is my sister. And Abimelech king of Gerar sent and took Sarah. But Alahayam came to Abimelech in a dream by night. Now Abimelech was a Gentile. And Alahayam, for the sake of Abraham and Sarah, appeared to him in a night vision and said to him, Behold, you are but a dead man, for the woman which you have taken. You've taken a woman that does not belong to you, for she is a man's wife. Now, the main reason why Alahayam appeared to Abimelech is because if he had defiled Sarah, Alahayam would have wiped out not only him and his household, but his whole nation. And Abimelech knew. Why? Because Sarah was Abraham's wife, through whom he was to through whom he was to have a child by the name of Yitzhak, the son of promise, through whom he was to get a son as well, meaning Yitzhak, called Yaakov, through whom the 12 tribes, the 12 sons, coming from the loins of Yaakov, will be the forefathers of the 12 tribes of Yashrael, the promise of Alahayam Yahweh to Abraham. So there was a lot riding on Sarah and Abraham. And Abimelech interceded and took her away. The promise had not yet been given to Abraham. So what the Most High did is he interceded and interrupted Abimelech. Verse 4, but Abimelech had not come near her. And he said, Adawan, meaning master, will you slay also a righteous nation? Because he knew that it wasn't just him that was going to die, but his entire nation of people. Verse 5, said he not unto me, she is my sister, and she herself said, he is my brother? In the integrity of my heart and innocency of my hands have I done this. I didn't know. I approached her. I actually was his servants. And they said, Abraham said, she's my sister. She said, he's my brother. So naturally, I took her. I didn't know that she was his wife. And Alahayam said unto him in a dream, yeah, I know that you did this in the integrity of your heart because you didn't know. For I also withheld you from sinning against me. I withheld you from touching that woman. Couldn't touch her. It was through Sarah that the promise came, that the lineage of Yashrael came. Therefore suffer I you not to touch her. So I put it in your heart not to touch her. He kept the devils away, the lustful spirits away from Abimelech that would have provoked him to lust and to go and touch Sarah, to have intercourse with her. Alahayam Yahweh withheld those evil spirits. Verse 7. Now therefore restore the man his wife, for he is a prophet, and he shall pray for you, and you shall live. You see, The death warrant was still hanging over his head though, because he took the man's wife. But the fact that he was still living as he was standing there, oh, sorry, he was sleeping. The fact that he was still living was the mercy of Alahayam Yahweh. All right? Because he knew that he did it out of ignorance. But that was no excuse. Because he still had a death warrant over his head. Because now what's he going to do? He said, if you don't restore this man his wife, I'm going to kill you. And if you restore her not, know that you shall surely die, you and all that are yours. And even after he restored Abraham's wife to him, Abraham had to pray for Abimelech, for that curse, that death warrant to be rolled away. Alahayam does not play. Abimelech had a nighttime vision as Alahayam appeared to him to warn him about taking Sarah as his wife. The appearance of Alahayam in a dream will change it to a night vision. So you're having a dream with all these different symbols and symbolisms and whatnots, changing sceneries, but then you have a dream where you see Alahayam and you're given a message, or you have an angel and you're given a message. Now it changes it from just merely a dream to now a night vision, because now there's communication from the heavenly host to us here in this dimension. Abimelech was able to have a cohesive and understanding conversation with Alahayam in his night vision, which brought about a change in his behavior the next day. He did not have to have his dream interpreted, as its meaning was made very clear from its beginning until the end. This dream, like others we will look at, will show the great difference between dreams with symbolisms and night visions. And there's also a marked difference between dreams of long ago as compared to the dreams we're having today. So the dreams that our forefathers had compared to our dreams today, night and day. And there's a reason for that. Because the dreams that our forefathers had were prophetic and meaningful, because they were pronouncing the events of Hamashiach coming to the earth the first time, the events of Yahshua, the two kingdoms, what was going to happen to them, how they're going to be regathered, and also end times events where everything is going to come to an end, and restoration of the government of Alahayam upon this earth. Those were the profound prophetic dreams that our forefathers had, and we see evidence of them in the Bible. Okay? We see with the prophetic books, the prophets of old, when they're prophesying, warning Yahshua, don't do this, come back to Alahayam, give up your whoredoms, all these different things. Those were given to the prophets in visions. All right? But we'll look at that in the next study. And also, they were given to them in dreams. messages that they had to pass on to Yashraal, to warn them, to caution them, to encourage them, to provoke them to righteousness. Today, when we have night visions, it is generally for us. All right? It is generally for us. We are the recipients because Alahayam has taken a special interest in us. So much so that he will send his message either through an angel or through himself. Or through, well, yeah, Alahayam. Whether it's Roach HaQadash or he himself will come to us to speak to us. All right? It's not always to warn us away from danger or warn us away from working evil before his eyes, but it's also to encourage us, to let us know this is where I am leading you. This is what I will want you to do. He doesn't give us too many of those instructions because we are people that will sabotage our own selves. Look at our forefathers, constantly sabotaging themselves. So he will give us limited information. Nevertheless, he will give us something as a way to encourage us, to let us know, hey, I am with you. Because he is not just going to appear to any and everyone. He only appears to those that belong to him. He appeared to Abimelech because Abimelech took Abraham's wife. But otherwise, he would not have appeared to Abimelech. Abimelech is a Gentile. Okay? Let's read on. Today, people are having dreams with symbolisms which seem chaotic, confusing, irrational, and even erratic. So when you listen to people on the YouTube channels and they're talking about their dreams, oh, I had this dream and it's a dream to confirm this and that and what have you. And it doesn't make any sense because whatever you are dreaming about does not line up with the word of Alahayam. It doesn't line up. So how can you clearly say that the dream came from on high? The vision came from on high. They have people that claim that they have visions about actors and actresses. Why would Alahayam give a so-called prophet of today, because there are no prophets today, a vision about a sinner, a heathen, to give them warning? No, he doesn't do that. Go back to the scriptures. What they're doing because their master has ordered them to do, and Alahayam has permitted them to do it. And there's no righteousness to be worked out. There's no righteousness to be sought after with these people because they're heathens. They're heathens. So you have these online gurus that are always giving messages about this person, that person. I'm calling it vision. I had a powerful vision. And this vision is about this person. Or I had a powerful vision about an earthquake coming to this country. We're having earthquakes all the time. How is that a powerful vision? Right? We're having the frequency of earthquakes have increased. And not only the frequency, but the intensity as well. Just like hurricanes, just like tornadoes, everything is increased. So you're having a vision, so you claim, about something that is predictable. That's not a vision. That's predicting. All right, let's move on. When we look at the dreams of our forefathers and even those of the Gentiles in their day, because there were some Gentiles that did receive dreams and visions, their dreams were meaningful and cohesive, especially when the interpretations were made known. With Yahweh who dreamed about the sheaves, stars, sun, and moon paying him obeisance, although there were symbols, there was still a cohesive order to his dreams. All right? There were 11 sheaves, there were 11 stars, one sun, one moon, and they were all bowing down to him. And later on, now his family discovered 13 years later that he became the governor, the second highest ruling person in Matsurayam. And of course, they came bowing down to him, just like what his dreams showed him. All right? But his brothers already understood the dreams, even his father. Let's go to Genesis chapter 46, Bara'ashayath chapter 46, verse 1. And Yashraal took his journey with all that he had and came to Beersheba and offered sacrifices unto Alahayam of his father Yatsachak. And Alahayam spoke unto Yashraal, meaning Yaokab, in the visions of the night, and said, Yaokab, Yaokab. And he said, Here am I. And he said, I am Alahayam, Alahayam of your father. Fear not to go down to Matsurayam, for I will be there, for I will there make of you a great nation. I will go down with you into Matsurayam, and I will also surely bring you up again. And Yahweh shall put his hand upon your eyes. So this was the time when Yahweh, who is Joseph, revealed to his brothers who he was. He was their brother, their long-lost brother that they sold into slavery. And he told them to tell his father that he's still alive. And he brought his father and his entire household to live with him in Matsurayam. And Parao gave them the best land. It was called Goshen. And Alahayam confirmed with Yaokab that this thing was from him. Go down to Matsurayam because that's where I am leading you. I will be there with you, and I will cause your household to multiply tremendously because I am with you. So Alahayam confirmed it because he knew that Yaokab was a little bit troubled about it. That's why he appeared to him. Sorry about that beeping. That's why he appeared to him. Okay? So let's read on. Yawab, that's the book of Job, chapter 4, verse 12. Now a thing was secretly brought to me, and my ear received a little thereof, in thoughts from the visions of the night, when deep sleep falls on men. So remember what I said. When you go into REM sleep, rapid eye movement, okay, that's when you begin to dream. That's where now communications start to take place between you and Alahayam, if he so wants it. Verse 14, fear came upon me and trembling, which made all my bones to shake. Then Rawak passed before my face, The hair of my flesh stood up. He got goose pimples. When he encountered Roach HaQadash, he began to tremble. Now, I have seen Roach HaQadash in a dream, but yet I can't describe him because he appeared to me as someone that I am so familiar with. He spoke to me, and I know it's him, but yet I cannot describe him. But he did not appear to me in the fullness of his glory. That's why I did not experience the trembling and the goose pimples. All right. Verse 16. It stood still, but I could not discern the form thereof. An image was before my eyes. There was silence, and I heard a voice saying. Now, I'm just showing you what Job, who's Yahweh, experienced when he had an encounter in his night vision. He encountered Roach HaQadash in his glory. Now remember, Yahweh was fasting, and he was praying, and fasting and praying, those two together will intensify your encounter with Alahayam Yahweh. Now, I know that I have kind of put the fasting on the back burner for a little while, but I will start it all over again. Get it going again, because I do miss it. Okay? And I will give you notification when I will begin fasting again. It will be once a week for 24 hours. Okay? Or if you can't do 24 hours, do half a day, but work your way towards 24 hours. Do 12 hours, okay? But Yoab, he was fasting and praying because he had lost his children, he's lost his livelihood because of what the enemy had done. Alahayam allowed the enemy to take away all his possessions, and even to bring sickness upon his body. Couldn't take his life or his wife, right? But he remained faithful to Alahayam. Let's move on to Danayah, the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 1. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Danayah had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. He was sleeping. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Danayah spoke and said, I saw in my vision by night, meaning he was sleeping and dreaming, but it was a vision by night. And behold, the four winds of the heavens strove upon the great sea, and four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. Now, I'm not going to go any further because we're not going to discuss these great beasts. I've already done this study several times already. I'm just showing you that this profound end times vision that Danayah saw was by a night vision, okay, while he was sleeping. Okay, now let's drop down to verse 7. After this I saw in the night visions again, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and broke in pieces, and stamped the residue of the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. We have looked at this already, okay? But Daniel received the message, the end times prophetic message, by a night vision. Let's drop down to verse 9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down. What is beheld when what is he doing when he beheld? He is watching. He is observing in his vision, his night vision. And the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. So all of this Daniel received while he was sleeping, seeing the four beasts, and then seeing the Ancient of Days. Let's read on. Verse 13 now. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. Let's drop down now to verse 15. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. So all that he saw occurring in his dream, that was a night vision, troubled him. Okay? Now, here's the awesome thing about visions and even dreams. I mean, there are dreams where we experience flying. I've had many of those dreams when you're soaring, you're leaving the earth, going into another dimension, all these different things I've experienced. And even though they may be visions of your head, because that's where you're seeing it, in your head, but you're actually experiencing it too. When you are in a vision, you are literally experiencing what you're seeing. But it comes to you like a recording, a visual recording. And that's why they're called visions. All right. Verse 16. I came near unto one of them that stood by, and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made me know the interpretation of the things. So he got the dream, he got the night visions, he asked for the interpretation, and he received it from the angel, or even Alahayam, who is there. Okay? There are clear differences between a night vision and a dream of symbolisms, and there are a few similarities. Why does Alahayam choose this method of communication with his people, especially in the past? This was his preferred way of getting our forefathers' attention. And because when we have a night vision from him, it will not be received lightly because of how intense that experience will be. And especially when he is wanting for you to pay attention, it will strike you to the core. The impact of that vision will be so strong, so profound, it will hit you right smack in the core of your being. You can't ignore it, because all of your emotions come into play. It's not just you watching. Okay, all right, let's go to that. You're watching a television show, whether it's sports, an action adventure movie, sitcom, comedy, whatever. it plays on your emotions. You become emotionally invested. All right? Because we are emotional beings. We were created to have these strong emotions. And if watching a television show can evoke such strong emotions in us, how much more would a dream or a night vision or an open eye vision evoke emotions from within us? Strong, even stronger than just watching a movie. Because we're not just emotionally invested, we're also spiritually invested and activated. Because now we are in our element. We are in the spiritual realm. Our physical bodies might still be on the bed, but spiritually, we are in our element. We're connected. That's why when you're dreaming and you remember your dream and or your vision, you feel like, okay, this is what I like. I feel connected here. Your senses are stronger than here on this earth. Everything is more profound. Everything is more is stronger. Your senses are stronger. Your abilities are nothing like what you cannot do. What you can do in your dreams and your visions, you can't do in real life. On this earth, in this body, in this flesh. Because of the hindrance of this flesh. But when we shed this flesh, and we are now spiritual beings interacting in the spiritual realm, now we can do phenomenal things. Even combat the enemy. I've had dreams. I've seen those ugly devils. All right. I've had battles with them. Anyways, just like the examples we have looked at previously, how grieved the dreamers were in their spirit, not because they were upset, but because of how powerfully their dreams impacted them. Even after they awoke from their dreams. Remember Danayal? He was grieved in his spirit. He's not grieved because he's upset. He's grieved because he is so deeply moved and even afraid, troubled. He didn't understand what he was seeing because what Danayal saw were events to take place in his lifetime all the way to our lifetime. That's thousands of years of seeing what will happen in the world. So no wonder he couldn't understand. No wonder he was grieved. He was seeing things beyond his understanding. All right. As compared to persons today who claim to have visions and powerful dreams, yet they were not significantly impacted by them like our forefathers. And like I explained to you before, a lot of them, they have visions about actors, about actresses, about entertainers, all kinds of sports people that have nothing to do with the scriptures, have nothing to do with Alahayam. They have visions about earthquake. They have vision about a volcano eruption. They have a vision about a tornado. Things that can be easily predicted because they are always happening. Vision about a tsunami. We know if there's going to be earthquakes and an increase of earthquakes, that there will be an increase of tsunami. So is that anything phenomenal? That's why they can casually give you their vision, what they have seen, casually, because what they have seen, what they claim is a vision is actually them predicting, because they want to be prophets, but they're not. They don't exist today. All the dreams, all the prophets, and we're going to see that in the next study, all the prophets are finished. The last prophet to prophesy was Yochanan the baptizer. Even Hamashiach said it. Yes, there were other people who had prophetic gifts, but they were not on the same level as the prophets that you see in the Bible. All right? They were there to encourage the people. That's it. All right. Let's read on. And by rights, they were not real prophets. The real prophets were the ones that were given the messages from Alahayam, from his lips to their ears, and from their lips to our ears even today, meaning the lips of our forefathers. He spoke to them, and now they're speaking to us through these scriptures that I'm even reading to you. All right, let's read on. Now, night visions are not to be confused with visions received while awake, or even trances, another type of vision while awake. And night visions can occur in the daytime while taking a nap. I explained that earlier. We will take a look at open eye visions and trances in the following studies, because the more we know, the harder it will be for the enemy to deceive us with fake dreams and visions. Once you know how to discern your dreams and the visions you're having, you have to understand what they are and what they're for. Okay. In part 1 of this study, we saw that a Gentile by the name of King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon had a dream, but it was taken away from him. He had a vision of the end times, but it was given to him because he was the head of gold. And yet, Alahayam took the dream away from him, that he couldn't remember the dream, but he remembered. He was fearful. He was terrified. He knew he had seen something significant, but he just could not remember what it was, because it was not for him to remember that particular dream. It was for Danayal to receive the dream, but it was confirmed through Nebuchadnezzar. And also the revelation of it came through Danayal, the prophet of Alahayam. Let's read on. Danayal and his friends prayed, and the dream was revealed to Danayal with its interpretation. So let's go to Danayal, the book of Daniel, chapter 2, verse 19. Then was the secret revealed unto Danayal in a night vision. Then Danayal blessed Alahayam of heaven. So while he was sleeping, he received the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had. And not only did he receive the dream in his night vision, he also received the interpretation of it. Nebuchadnezzar's dream was revealed to Danayal in a night vision, as he had to witness all that the king of Babylon saw and received its interpretation as well, which would have been given to him by an angel. That's how it always occurred for our forefathers. When they received these profound dreams and night visions, the interpretation would come to them through an angel. This we saw in other visions that Danayal had, where he prayed for understanding, and angels were dispatched to him to give him the revelation of his dreams and visions. And not only angels, but Alahayam himself will also appear to that prophet to give them the interpretation. The main appearances of angels were Hamashiach, who would appear as the angel of Alahayam to our forefathers before he came the first time as the son of Alahayam in the flesh. All right. And then we have Gabara Wa'al, who is Gabriel, one of the princes of the archangels. He's often the one to bring the interpretation of dreams, especially to Danayal. The appearances of angels and Alahayam in dreams change them to be night visions and not merely dreams anymore. These powerful night visions sent strong messages to their recipients, and their meanings were made clear in order for their messages to be received. Dreams and night visions like the ones that King Nebuchadnezzar and the prophets like Abraham and Daniel had were prophetic. So even what the Gentile King Nebuchadnezzar had was prophetic, strongly, deeply prophetic. Although there were symbolisms in some of their night visions, their meanings were made clear by the interpretations given by angels. There were historical, prophetic events which took place throughout our forefathers' history, and there were also end times prophetic events taking place in our era and looking ahead to the near future. So, this is the reason why I said there's no need for prophets anymore, because all of the prophecies needed to tell us about the end times, the regathering of the southern kingdom, the northern kingdom, the judgment, and everything that's coming on this earth, the judgments and everything that's coming upon this earth have already been spoken. They have already been given by the servants of Alahayam. So we don't need the office of the apostle anymore, and we no longer need the office of prophets anymore. The word has already been spoken. All we are waiting for now is the fulfillment of the rest of these events to take place. Notice that it was by the prophets that these dreams and visions were given, and Nebuchadnezzar, being a Gentile and not a prophet, his dream was taken away from him and given to Danayal, who was the prophet of Yashraal. And not only the dream, but he also received its interpretation. When Alahayam wants to get our attention, to give us warnings, or to give us very important instructions that can change our trajectory, we will receive powerful dreams and night visions, yet not as powerful as those that our forefathers received. Why? Because many of their dreams and night visions were prophecies. So we receive our own personal messages, and those messages are there to encourage us, to redirect us because we may have gone on the wrong path, or there's something ahead that he wants us to veer away from. All right? That's when he will come to us directly, or he will send an angel to us directly to speak to us, because this is a dangerous moment for you. All right? And I want you to be safe. He is going to keep us safe. All right? Let's read on. Yahweh the carpenter received his warnings from night visions. Or I should say, he received his warnings via night visions. And we know this because he saw a powerful angel and his instructions were crystal clear. So let's read what happened to Yahweh, that's Joseph, the husband of Mariam. Matthew chapter 1, verse 18. Now the birth of Yahushua HaMashiach was on this wise. When his mother was espoused to Yahweh, before they came together, she was found with child of Roach HaQadash. Then Yahweh, her husband, being a just man and not willing to make her a public example, was minded to put her away privily. But while he thought on these things, behold, the angel of Yahweh appeared unto him in a dream, saying, Yahweh, you son of Dawad, fear not to take Miriam as your wife, for that which is conceived in her is of Roach HaQadash. Now, Yahweh had, in today's words, he was engaged to Miriam. Now, in the days of our forefathers, and even still today, when a man is marrying a woman, the sign of their commitment is intercourse. All right? He had not touched her yet. So therefore he was not married to her yet she was pregnant. How can that be? Yet deep down inside he knew that she was a decent woman. She was a good woman. But he could not deny or ignore the fact that she was pregnant. How can a woman get pregnant except she laid with a man? And that's why he didn't know what to do. And he just thought, okay, don't want to bring shame upon her. So let me just do this secretly. Let me just sever the engagement secretly. Send her on her way quietly. And he fell asleep. And when he fell asleep, then Alahayam, Yahweh sent one of his angels to speak to Yahweh to let him know it's okay, because the child that she is carrying was conceived. The child that she had conceived is of Roach HaQadash, meaning he was the one who planted that embryo in her womb. She was still a virgin. All right. Verse 21. Then he goes on to describe more about what Hamashiach will be. And she shall bring forth a son, and you shall call his name Yahwasha'o, for he shall save his people from their sins. Now all this was done that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken of Yahweh by the prophet, saying, Behold, a virgin shall be with child, and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Omana Wa'al, meaning Emmanuel, which being interpreted is Alahayam with us. Then Yahweh, being raised from sleep, did as the angel of Yahweh had bidden him, and took unto him his wife. He went through the procedures of, making her his wife without sleeping with her. All right, that would be the final connection, the final thing that they will have to do to confirm that they are committed to each other. Verse 25, and he knew her not till she had brought forth her firstborn son, and he called his name Yahwasha also. Yahweh did everything that he was instructed to do by the angel in his night vision. While Yahweh the carpenter was thinking about what he would do to Miriam, he fell asleep and had a night vision. An angel of Yahweh appeared unto him in a dream. And this was a night vision, as it was interactive between him and the angel. The angel instructed him concerning Miriam, and this was not the last time that he received his instructions via night visions. So let's look at Matthew chapter 2 now, verse 11. And when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Miriam, his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. These will be the wise men. Verse 12. And being warned of Alahayam in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country. So you see, even the wise men Well, they were receiving dreams about this child. And then they saw the star, which was an angel that guided them to the child. And now they receive another dream from Alahayam, a night vision. And they were warned of Alahayam not to go back to Herod. And they obeyed. Okay? Verse 13. And when they were departed, behold, the angel of Yahweh appeared to Yahusap in the dream, saying, Arise and take the young child and his mother, and flee into Matzorayim, and be you there until I bring you word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. When he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night, and departed into Matzorayim, and was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken of Yahweh by the prophet, saying, Out of Matzorayim have I called my son. So you see, already there are two fulfillments based on visions, night visions that Yahusap had. Fulfillments of prophecies. Let's read on. Let's drop down to verse 19. But when Herod was dead, behold, an angel of Yahweh appeared in a dream to Yahusap in Matzorayim, saying, Arise and take the young child and his mother, and go into the land Yashraal, for they are dead which sought the young child's life. And he arose and took the young child and his mother, and came into the land of Yashraal. But when he heard that Archelaus did reign in Yehoiada in the room of his father Herod, he was afraid to go there. Notwithstanding, being warned of Alahayam in a dream, he turned aside into the parts of Galilee. And he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophets, He shall be called a Nazarene. So we see three fulfillments right here of prophecies spoken about Hamashiach and his first appearance here on the earth as a man. All right. And Yahusap received night visions all along the way to guide him to go from one place to another to keep the child safe. Yahusap was warned a number of times in order to preserve the son of Alahayam from being destroyed by Herod and his descendant. And each time when Yahusap obeyed the warnings, his obedience led to the fulfillment of the prophecies spoken of long time ago by the prophets. The fulfillment of dreams and visions by the prophets had to do with Hamashiach coming to the earth not once, but 2 times. As he's coming again, well, let's just say he'll be walking on the earth twice, but he'll be coming into the earthly dimension 3 times. As the second time, he'll be coming into our dimension to regather the southern kingdom. But the second appearance on the earth is when he will be coming as king. All right? So this is what the prophets saw concerning Hamashiach and the soon restoration of his people, Yashraal. All prophecies have already been spoken by the prophets of old. What we are waiting for today is the fulfillment of these prophecies. Therefore, those who are calling themselves prophets are false prophets, as this ministry has already been fulfilled. We don't need prophets anymore, because anything that you see or hear is more of a personal message to us to get us ready for his return. And sometimes even the messages that we receive for ourselves, when we share it with others, they too can receive of that message. All right? But that does not make us a prophet or prophetess. Just because you receive dreams and vision does not make you a prophet or a prophetess. That office has already been fulfilled. All right. Our last prophet was Yochanan the Baptizer, as he was the last to prophesy about Hamashiach, even while Hamashiach, was alive in his presence. And this is what prophecy is all about. So remember when he told his disciples, behold, the Lamb of Alahayam who takes away the sins of the world? He was prophesying. He was prophesying, even though Hamashiach was there, because the people didn't know who he was. Only Mariam suspected, all right, based on the events of his birth. Well, well, she was there in the beginning when she was told that she was going to carry the son of Alahayam. But I believe a lot of the time she was just holding these things in her heart. She didn't share it with his brothers and sisters. They came to the understanding about who he is based on what he did, the miracles that he did. And as a matter of fact, even while he was alive, they really didn't have any much to do with him. It's only after he passed away, after he was sacrificed, not passed away, but he was nailed to the stake, then their eyes were open and they realized who he was. And one of his brothers became one of his key apostles. All right. Let's read on. Let's see where I left off, as usual. Prophecy has nothing to do with us, only with the will of Alahayam and about what he wants to do in this world. This is already spelled out in the prophecies, which we call the scriptures. And so there will not be any new prophecies given. And if no new prophecies, then no need for new prophets. There's no need for prophets, period. And apostles. The dreams and night visions given to specific people were either warnings or encouragement to help us personally and or to help our brethren. We have Roach HaQadash who speaks directly into our hearts, yet at pivotal times in our lives, he will choose to speak to us through dreams and night visions. Yochanan the apostle was filled with Roach HaQadash, but he was still given visions, not nighttime visions. So we will look at that in the next study, as these visions were the last of all prophecies. And Yochanan was not a prophet, so he saw the visions of the end times. This is the book of Revelation. All right. So Yochanan the baptizer was the last prophet, and Yochanan the apostle was chosen to give the last batch of end times prophecies to the people of Alahayam. All right. So that's the ending of this particular study. Now we will complete it with the blessing for Yashua taken from Ba Madabar chapter 6 verses 24 to 26. That's Numbers chapter 6 verses 24 to 26. Yabarakak Yahweh Yashamarak. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. Ya'ar Yahweh Panayo Alayak Wayahanak. May Yahweh cause his face to shine upon you and have favor upon you. Yasha'a Yahweh Panayo Alayak Wayasham Lak Shalawam. May Yahweh lift up his face upon you and give you peace. And now we will recite the command we were instructed to recite when we lie down, when we get up, when we go out, and when we come in. Taken from Debarayam chapter 6 verses 4 and 5. That's Deuteronomy chapter 6 verses 4 and 5. Shama'u Yashwa'al Yahweh Alahayana Yahweh Ahad Wa Ahabat Av Yahweh Alahayak Bakal Lababak Wabakal Napashat Wabakal Ma'adak. Hear, O Yashwa'al, Yahweh our Alahayam is one Yahweh, and you shall love your Alahayam with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And with that, I will say, Shalawam, Shalawam. All praises to the Most High, Abba Yah.